Good morning, good afternoon, participants, wherever you are. Welcome to the webinar on LEI, the fifth webinar on LEI. Today, we will discuss the cases in China. Please wait a few more minutes. I'm expecting around 100, like a previous webinars. So I guess so far we are having a core participants who really interested in LEI. So hopefully also today we can attract similar number of the participants. So the housekeeping announcement for participants, if you have a question, as we did for the previous webinars, please type in your questions at the Q&A box. So we will try to answer your questions as many as possible in the Q&A session. So we will start the 4 p.m. Manila time. So please wait a few more minutes. I guess still people are coming in, but let me start the today's webinar on LEI, the part 5. So the cases in China. So welcome all the participants. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So today we will discuss the case in China. Previously, we learned the cases in United States, Europe, in India. So this is another case in China. So the previous webinars in United States, US Custom is thinking to introduce LEI as a kind of global ID. So that is one example of non-financial use case. And of course, in Europe, they try to use the LEI for various financial regulatory reporting purposes. ECB, ESMA is a strong proponent of utilizing LEI. And also we learned some case kind of utilization of LEI for validating some commercial transactions. So the prevention of fraud, LEI can be a very good driver. So the CITA explained the cases, how to validate their sort of a purchase order or sort of a payment request. And also in India, we learned kind of a systematic approach by the regulator, starting from the gradual introduction, maybe starting from OTC derivative and ADI application to the large financial institutions and large corporate, and gradually they will expand the reporting from all credit transactions as well as all the payment transactions. And they are expanding the scope more. And of course, the implementation will be supported local operating unit. Today is a case for China. So first, we will listen to the PBOC's sort of strategy and the leadership. So the Ms. Vlei, she's the Assistant Chief of Standard and Planning Division of the PBOC, and she will explain the PBOC's strategy. And Mr. Zhang Yanzhao, he is the Senior Strategy Analyst of the China Financial Certification Authority. So this is another private sector use case and how LEI can ensure the credibility of entity, website, also financial transactions. So as usual, we will have two presentations and then we will have Q&A session. So if you have questions, please type in the Q&A box. So I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Fan. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Tomo-san. Thank you. I'd like to first thank ADB and GLEIF for organizing this webinar. It's really a facilitating venue for us to share and communicate on the practice we have made to promote LEI in each jurisdiction. And it's really a great pleasure for me to be here to speak about LEI in China and what we want to do and what kind of cooperation we are looking for with our colleagues and partners in the world. Next, please. So for the rest of the presentation, I will mainly touch upon three parts. That is a quick review of the measures we have taken to promote LEI in China, and then to elaborate on the next steps we intend to make, and finally to share with you some of our experience and recommendation just to wrap it up. Next, please. And so the first part is a review of LEI implementation in China. So in our efforts to promote LEI, we found it necessary and effective to build synergy among regulators, particularly financial regulators, to have a comprehensive approach to promote LEI in the financial sector. So in November 2020, the People's Bank of China, the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission, the China Securities Regulatory Commission, and the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, the four major financial regulators in China, jointly released a roadmap to implement LEI in China from 2020 to 2022, which specifies major tasks in areas including formulation of regulatory rules, expansion of LEI coverage, application of LEIs, and to promote sustainable operation of the LOU in China. Up till now, major goals and tasks set forth for the year 2020 have been accomplished successfully. Next, please. For the major areas of LEI implementation, the first is we try to roll out more regulatory rules to use LEI. By the end of this June, there were altogether 17 regulatory rules released in China to promote LEI uses, which involved areas such as securities account opening, interbank bond issuance, foreign exchange statistics. 11 of these rules are just one of these rules was required. That is a mandatory use of LEI, and 10 of them are requested, and 6 are optional rules. And next, please. Just to name a few, which are typical. For example, the roadmap stated that for the next 2 years, we will release more rules in banking, securities, derivatives trading, insurance, and other areas. And in 2017, the Customs Authority in China issued a list which specifies the kind of businesses and corporate and identifiers accepted by the Customs Authority in China. I remember there are about 80 of such business identifiers, and LEI is one of them. Next, please. Other cases including For example, in 2020, a required rule was released by the PBOC to require all credit rating agencies should have a LEI. It's a mandatory rule. Next. And also in 2020, the SAFE ruled out that the qualified financial institutional investors, the QFII and RQFIs, are requested to provide LEIs when they register to invest in the Chinese mainland. So these are a short review of some of the rules we have released to use LEI in the financial sector. Next, please. Meanwhile, in recent 2 to 3 years, the LEI population in China also grew rapidly in China. By the end of this May, there were nearly 44,000 Chinese legal entities having LEIs, and financial institutions account for roughly 30%, trading entities account for 40%, and the rest, 30%, are enterprises in other sectors. Next, please. So in order to achieve a quick and extensive coverage of LEIs, we took measures to help LOU to outreach to more partners. For example, we tried bulk registration. That is, the LOUs will cooperate with financial infrastructures, free trade areas, and e-commerce platforms to provide tailored LEI solutions for enterprises operating on those venues. And second is registration agent. Currently, the LOU in China has partnered with 4 registration agents, such as clearinghouse, payment infrastructures, etc. And finally, we tried validation agent. The Chinese LOU now cooperates with 12 validation agents, mostly commercial banks and the certificate authority. Next, please. In terms of the application of LEI, while expanding LEI coverage, we also made great efforts to use LEI in various scenarios. In late 2019, inspired by the GLEIF 2.0 proposed by the GLEIF, we launched a pilot for the digital identification of cross-border legal entities via LEIs to help commercial banks reduce costs of client onboarding, improve customer identification, and to assist enterprises to do international trade and financial transactions. Based on the pilot, there are 2 types of connection mode. In the first is the direct connection, where financial institutions collaborate with LOU to become LEI registration agents or validation agents. There's also an indirect mode, where financial institutions connect to LOU through certificate authority in order to promote LEI plus digital certificate and to help the certificate authority or the CA to become the partner of GLEIF in validation agent project. Next, please. Just to elaborate more on this pilot, this is a rough demonstration of the 2 modes, the direct one on the left and the indirect one on the right. Currently, in the direct mode, there are a number of institutions that have been connected to the LOU directly, including the China Foreign Exchange Trading System, the Shanghai Clearinghouse, the Shanghai Commercial Paper Exchange, and the major commercial banks such as ICBC, ABC, CCB. And also we have a Jiangsu Free Trade Area, that is a free trade area managing commission. And for the indirect connection, China Union Pay, the CIPS, that is the cross-border interbank payment system, and the Bank of China, China Merchant Bank have connected to the certificate authority in order to get their access to the Chinese LOU. Next, please. And there are also other initiatives to promote LEI uses and to ensure sustainable operation of the Chinese LOU. For example, we started a program to build a cross-border legal entity information service platform and to provide LEI-based data service for financial authorities, financial infrastructures, and financial institutions as a whole. And the second initiative is to realize automatic update of information of financial institutions holding LEIs. And finally, we try to explore what role LEI can play in a digital world. Along with the idea proposed by GLEIF, we started an initiative to issue digital certificates embedded with LEI to legal entities. A sort of a major player in this area is the China Financial Certificate Authority, the CFCA. It is a well-established certificate authority in the Chinese financial sector, and it has long been a closer partner to the Chinese LOU in promoting LEI for the digital economy. With the support of GLEIF, CFCA is the first CA partner to GLEIF as a validation agent. CFC is also actively engaged in the VLDI project and researching on distributed identification infrastructure. So for the next session, my colleague from CFCA will elaborate more on their efforts to promote LEI. So I will just skip this part. Next, please. For the next steps to promote LEI, we believe that in the future, next please, Thomas. We believe that in the future, the LEI is an important infrastructure for identification, a broadly accepted and useful tool to show who I am and to know who you are in the digital world. It takes time to promote LEI in the long term, in particular to go beyond financial sector and to reach out to the larger part of the business in the world. For the coming years, the PBOC will follow the roadmap for LEI promotion in China. The first is about the regulatory rules. We will develop more rules in various scenarios to promote LEI uses, including to use LEI in cross-border payment, digital yuan, derivatives trading, securities trading, supervision of public companies, and trade reporting. In the end, it is our vision that LEI will become an important part of the regulatory toolbox to support financial stability and risk prevention. Next, please. On the other hand, we will continue to expand LEI population in China. The target for 2021 is to cover 50,000 legal entities. With the current 44,000 population in hand now, we expect to overshoot that target by 2021. In the long run, we aim to promote LEI mainly to financial institutions, trading entities, and non-financial enterprises involved in cross-border transactions. Next, please. For the technical side of LEI application, one important measure is to enhance the mapping between LEI to existing identifiers in China. For example, the Financial Institution Code and the Unified Social Credit Code. The Unified Social Credit Code is a universal identifier to identify business in China. It is a well-established system. And also we are promoting the mapping between LEI and ISIN, and also trying to find a way to map LEI with identifiers used by other financial infrastructures in their business systems. For example, the credit information system, the AML system, payment systems, and possibly securities sector in the future. Next, please. We are also exploring other possible scenarios for LEI to play a bigger role and to release the true value of LEI. One of the scenarios we have identified is the cross-border payment, where we believe that LEI will play a role. Currently, major payment systems worldwide are migrating to ISO 20022, which supports LEI messages. The cross-border interbank payment system, the CIPS, in China adopts 20022 and supports LEI message about several years ago. So LEI is used among financial institutions connected to CIPS. Recently we just launched a pilot program to promote LEI to non-financial users to CIPS. And next, please. And a second key scenario is the interbank bond market, which I think is somewhat relevant to the audience today from the ASEAN bond market initiative. Currently in the Chinese interbank bond market, there are 4 major players as infrastructure. The first is the CFAST. It is the trading floor of the interbank bond market. And the second is the CCDC. It is responsible for the registration, depository, and settlement of interest rate debts and part of credit debts. And the third is Shanghai Clearing House. It conducts credit debts registration, depository, and settlement. So it has the same role as CCDC, only they focus on different types of bonds. And finally, there is NAFMI. It is a self-regulatory organization for participants in the interbank bond market. Next, please. In the recent few years, we have made great efforts to popularize LEI among participants in the interbank bond market. Currently, all the domestic entities in the market are covered with LEI, but there's still a few thousands of overseas entities that don't have LEI, but they still operate in the interbank bond market. It is our vision that in the future, we might find a way to cover them all. Next, please. And to better serve the interbank bond market and to see how we can use the merits of LEI to serve this market to flourish, we are in the process to set up a database for interbank bond market as part of the cross-border legal entity information platform mentioned above. So it is the goal that all the market participants will be covered with LEIs, domestic and overseas participants included. And the database with LEI as the sole entity identifier will be able to support infrastructures in trader identification, in market access and registration, in membership management, and also to facilitate regulators in market analysis, risk prevention, and the prudent administration of the market as a whole. And next, please. And finally, the last key scenario now is the digital identification of cross-border legal entity. We, along with the cross-border legal entity information platform, we are also developing a cross-border legal entity digital certification platform that supports LEI application in scenarios, particularly cross-border scenarios such as trade, cross-border logistics, cross-border movement of funds and information. Currently, there are two initiatives in the pipeline. The first is the LEI embedded digital certificate, and the second is the VLEI as initiated by the GLEIF. Later, Mr. Zhang from CFCA will elaborate more on this. Next, please. And finally, the experience and recommendations. So as the LEI population is growing, an urgent task that follows is to find a practical scenario for LEI to be actually used by the financial sector and other sectors in a larger picture, so that we can find a stage for LEI to truly play its value and to truly play its role. So the fact is, in China, we have already in place a well-established system to identify Chinese enterprises or businesses. So it requires more than just a few regulatory rules to find a niche for LEI in the current situation. So yet we realize that the true value of LEI lies in its founding features. That is, it is a universal, public, and authoritative source of identification. So we see a great potential in LEI to play a bigger role in cross-border scenarios. Meanwhile, the digital economy is booming, particularly boosted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So how to build trust in the digital world? We think LEI can play a bigger role in this regard too. So we find that a potential starting place for LEI to truly flourish and to release its value is the digital identification of entities that engaged in cross-border transactions and activities. For example, the trade and financial transactions. So of course, we are still in the process of piloting, but we do see great potential of LEI to play a role in the digital identification of entities engaged in cross-border activities. Next, please. So we also come here with a few recommendations for the ADB as a whole, and particularly for the ASEAN +3 framework. So the first is that we can hope we might have more digital certificate cooperation with members of the ASEAN 3 framework. And second, it's kind of our sort of our hope that maybe ADB can play a bigger role in promoting the application and implementation of LEI in the Asian area, and to improve the coverage of LEI, to expand the application scenarios, and to form a synergy among all Asian members to explore more possibilities of LEI cooperation under the ASEAN +3 framework. And finally, we hope that in the future, we might be able to strengthen cooperation between LOUs in the ASEAN +3 region to see if there is possibility for VA and RA cooperation among LOUs, and to establish a cross-border legal entity data exchange mechanism, and to unify the identification standard of legal entities across Asia. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fan. So I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Zhang. So can you upload your file? Yes, thank you. So floor is yours. Mr. Zhang? Can you change the full screen? Yes, thank you. Mr. Zhang, I don't hear you well. I'll turn off the microphone.
Hello.
Yes, now I can hear you. Mr. Zhang, somehow I can't hear you well. Maybe you have a connection problem. Well, to save the bandwidth, shall I post your slide? Can we try? Can you stop sharing your file? So I will post the slide. So hopefully, yes. So hopefully I can hear you. So can you speak?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe
okay.
You also need to stop your video just to save your bandwidth. So just please mention next slide so I can move the slide.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay, please, next, please. Okay. Hello. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, yes, I
Hello?
can. Yes, I can see.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Okay. Our business is we have 6 business sectors. And the core business is digital certificates and software tech products. This businesses contribute the most of our revenue. And beginning to today, we have totally issued over 2.5 billion certificates to clients and have covered over 10 industries. Most of certificates from the financial industry at 600 financial institutions. Okay, to hear that is an overview for our company. I hope that can help everyone to better understand our LEI application in China. For the next, I will quickly to talk about our international cooperation. The first is we are the member of the CAB Forum. It is an association grouped together by separate organizations, mostly from certificates authorities and browser software vendors. The forum is discussing and proposing the best practices to improve the security of international communications. And the second, it has passed the audit of web trust. It is conducted in accordance with the trust service principles and criteria for certification authorities. That means our operation of CA business must align with the international guidelines and requirements. And that is about our global server certificates products. The root certificate has set advice into the mainstream software, such as Adobe, Apple, and Google Chrome, and Microsoft and Firefox. That means our server certificate can officially recognized by these popular softwares. And the last one is CFC also is an associate member of FIDO Alliance. For solving the problem of password data leak and password forgetting, FIDO authentication is the no password way to log in the website or apps. As another choice, people can use security keys, facial recognition, fingerprint, or voice to verify themselves. Yes. Okay. All this I have just introduced is the foundation for LEI related products and application innovation. So next I will go to the part 2. In this part, I will have some discussion, more detail about the LEI practices in China. First of all, the start is the validation agent program. From the validation agent program of GLEIF, give us the capability to provide LEI code for our customers in the certification issuing process. For a customer, in the terms of who has LEI, through the process of authentication, we can know the customer who is the owner of LEI. Then we will give them a certificate with the LEI. In another case, if there's a customer who has no LEI, as the validation agent of GLEIF, we will take the LEI issue validation process just like the LU, a local operation unit, just like the local operation unit. And they give them a LEI at the same time they get the certificate. After customers have get the certificate with LEI, they use the certificate in their business environment, for example, in online business or other digital situations. The most important part in the validation agent role we perform is this is the process which build a digital identity for a legal entity. Obviously, digital identity is critical for both legal entity and the natural person to engage in the remote and online business. Besides the physical ID and the password, we also need a digital ID and a digital passport in today's time. As we know, besides LEI, actually, indeed, there are many options for identifier types to construct a digital identity. However, from our perspective, we think LEI is the best option for building a digital identity because LEI has the attributes of globally uniqueness, high quality reference data, and binding with the local official legal entity information. Follow this process.
Hello, Mr. Zhang. I cannot hear you. Mr. Zhang?
Hello?
Yes, now
sorry,
I can hear you.
Mr. Sadlu. Yes. Can you see my screen?
No, you can post your slide.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's disconnected. Yes, I can see.
Okay. Is all right this
Yes,
moment?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see your slide.
Sorry. Okay. Oh. Yes, give it everyone. So the first one is the authentication. That's the certificate with LEI that give us. This attribute is by the technical way, or we call it a crypto algorithm. We can legally prove of who actually signed the transaction or document. The detailed information of the signed GLEIF databases. And the second is non-repudiation. If a legal entity used the certificate to sign a transaction or document, we can ensure that a signer can't falsely deny what has signed. Third is integrity. If a legal entity used the certificate to sign transaction or document, we can prove that a transaction or document has not been changed since signed. So if we give a customer's certificate with LEI, so we can also give these three benefits to our customers. Currently, from the technical, there are two approaches by which the LEI can be integrated in digital products to create a digital identity. First one is the digital certificate with LEI embedded. Second one is the verifiable LEI. That is what we say the VIEI. For the case of digital certificates with LEI, a legal entity will receive its digital certificate issued by a certificate authority. I will elaborate the first way to give some technical details inside it. As we know how a CA company can embed the LEI into certificate, there are many choices. For example, it can be places where user serial number or similar customized field to ensure the interoperable between different CS or different softwares. It is critical to follow the common or international specification. We now made it with the standard of ISO 72442. By combining the certificate at LEI, we have raised plenty of trust chain or trust triangle. Among these plenty, three key roles cooperate each other. Issue is CFC. We go through the strict KYC process before sending out a certificate. Holder is a legal entity who has a LEI. Verifier is the party they want to know who the presenter of the certificate is. Okay, so let us go out here and go into the use cases part. I would like to share 4 use cases we have implemented in China. First is the financial use case. That is a classic centralized cross-border payment system. Before incorporating the LEI, they use the private identifier distinguishes the payer and the payee, and identifying the initiator bank and the receiver bank. We supply the digital certificate that equipped with LEI code for key players in this scenario. The certificate is used in the user's body process to authenticate the identity of user. Besides, the certificate is also used to generate the digital signature of transaction message. By this means, payer can sign the ISO 20022 message with certificate clearinghouse, and payee can validate the signature and compare the LEI in the certificate and to compare to the LEI in the message and the financial message. With this case, we can realize the potential that for all financial messages which can connect with the LEI code with a trustful way. Second use case is in cross-border trading. That is an e-commerce platform located in Hong Kong. On this platform, there are many sellers, buyers, and logistics service providers. They may come from different countries and use different business register information for register process. We provide the API for the platform so they can automatically submit the documents to our validation agent server. After passing the validation process, we give back LEI for the legal entity. They are on the platform, such as the sellers, suppliers, etc. parties. With incorporating the LEI, the platform can integrate the information flow, cash flow, and goods flow that all belongs to a client by one LEI code. So the efficiency of order processing, money clearing, and the logistics chain are all improved significantly. By this case, we can find the potential that the e-commerce platform has the capability synchronizing the ecosystem's data with LEI, especially in the cross-border trading environment. The third one is the CSS Ecl Solution. As we know, the contract and documents are the basis of the business. In digital transformation process, more and more the contracts and documents are processed by remotely and online. In this solution, the PDF documents signed by the signatories certificate and use a software named TrustSign. That is a product of CFC. The TrustSign has the ability to be integrated into the business flow software. For the parties of contract to know each other completely, we embed the LEI into the certificate. So if one party signs the document with the certificate, another party or other parties can check the signature by clicking the Ecl image. just like this slide show. On the right, down right corner, there's a eCell. When you click it, the software will pop up a window showing the detailed information. By the LEI, we can retrieve the detailed data from the GLEIF database. So just on the slide, you can look a red box. The information in this box, the 4 elements, the legal name and the registration ID, country, local address, is all come from the GLEIF database online at the real time. So by this case, we can recognize the potential of by integrated the LEI into business workflows. We can build the legal foundation of business on LEI. The last one is the LEI application website or apps. We know for prevent the phishing attack, the mainstream web browser like Chrome, Microsoft Firefox all supports the server certificate. If a server or website or app equipped with a certificate, users can inquire the owner's information by certificate. I will show a live demo just later, so I skip this moment. The final part is the future. And if you envision the future, what we are Hello? Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes, Mr. Zhang. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So the LEI is a new approach for LEI to be authenticated. There are 4 advantages. The first one is the either mutual trust mechanism in cross-border application of LEI. The 2 is the more flexibility in issues and verification is the process. And the 3rd is the broader application scenarios and opportunities. The final one is a new digital identity for legal entity anywhere. So the verifiable LEI is another approach besides the certificate of the traditional certificate with LEI. So sorry for the trouble of the networks that I will switch to the live demo. Okay. This demo is about global certificate.
Mr. Zhang, we don't see your demo. Could you make sure to switch the screen? I think you're still showing the slides. I think you need to stop sharing the slide and change to the your demo. Hello? Mr. Zhang? Unfortunately, Mr. Zhang seems disconnected. Sorry for this technical problem. So I hope he can come back soon. Yes, he's back.
Okay, I'm back.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. Yes, okay. The live demo is about the global certificate that supports the LEI. Traditionally, users can only get the information that should be the certificate. And if a server that have a certificate, we can see the information just in the left corner. This lock button, and we can click this. So this is the information can give us. This is from the Google Chrome, for example. Here we can see, for example, this is icbc.com and .in. We can see the certificate information, who signed this and who issued this certificate. So, however, we can't get the more information for the certificate. So, for solve this problem, we propose a product that is an extension of the browser. By it, we enhance the functionality of a browser. For example, we just show the information. First step, the user needs to get the extension from Google Extension Store and install it to your browser. After you install it, we can see the right top corner. Here we'll show an icon that LEI. We click this. So the browser will pop up a window. In this window, there are some detailed information about the certificate. So we can find the organization name or the LEI information. But sorry, unfortunately, this certificate does not contain LEI. So by this information, then we can click this button to jump directly to the GLEIF search interface to require some more detailed information. For this example, this information will be Industry and Commercial Bank of China Limited. It will be input automatically into this into the search box. So we click it. Okay, we can see the more detailed information about this site. And if this is an ample.com and .in, we click the button, and we can also read the certificate from the browser, and we can know this organization's name is Apple Inc. And the LEI information is not available because that certificate does not include the LEI information. But if the certificate includes the LEI information, we can see the LEI information at here. So we click the button. We'll jump to the GLEIF search interface. So here is the Apple Inc. You put in the search box and give some information all about this comparison. If the LEI is the certificate, we can search by the LEI code. So that will give us more precise and accurate information if we click this button. Okay. Okay, that's all. Sorry for the several connection problems that in the presentation. And thanks again. This I'm going to close my presentation. And, sorry and thank you again.
Okay, Mr. Zhang, thank you so much for your presentation. So next we'll go to the Q&A session. So if you have a question, please type in your Q&A box, and we will share the questions. So first, there's one question to Ms. Fan. So the question is, you mentioned that the one regulation is, LEI is required and others are requested or optional. And is there any possibility to move to all requirements? What is the sort of the, where do you draw the line? What is requirement and what is request and optional? How do you define the difference, or any reason not to move to all the requirements? Can you explain, Ms. Van?
Yes, thank you. So given the roadmap for the next 2 years, we intend to introduce some mandatory regulatory rules in certain areas. For example, derivatives trading might be one possible area. But most of the time, we make decisions based on the actual reality or what we actually need for the financial sector. So currently, among all the 17 rules, one is intended for the customs area, and all the other 16 rules are tailored for the financial sector. But the thing is, all the financial institutions now are already covered with LEI. So we believe that for the LEI to continue to grow in the future, the larger picture lies in the non-financial sector, that is the non-financial enterprises in China. This is because we believe, like I said, we believe that LEI will play a bigger role in the cross-border identification of all legal entities engaged in cross-border activities. And most of them, or a very large proportion of them, are non-financial enterprises. And at the same time, as the Chinese financial market is opening up, we have done some survey to the market, and we found that there is an increasing need from the market to identify their overseas clients who come to China to do business. So we find that for the future, a sort of a growing source for the LEI to continue to expand in China is from the non-financial sector. But to introduce mandatory use of LEI in the non-financial sector requires more intensive cooperation among authorities, not just financial authorities, but also authorities from other sectors. So there might be more efforts that required. But all in all, from the very beginning, we have always tried to rely on a market-oriented approach to promote LEI instead of solely relying on mandatory use and regulations. This is because, like I said, we have already built a relatively well-established ID system for enterprises in China. This is particularly the case in the financial sector. And it will require huge cost to turn to LEI for the financial infrastructures and institutions. So what we try to do is to help the market to see the true value of LEI, to see that they can enjoy the merits of LEI, in particular the value of LEI data as a whole. I believe this market-oriented approach will also be conducive to the sustainable growth of LEI in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Fan. Just a question. So what is the cost of getting LEI in China? Do I need to pay, how much do I need to pay, or no charge?
Currently, and maybe for the next 1 to 2 years, it's totally free. You don't have to pay a penny on the LEI registration.
Okay, thank you. So the in China, who is the local operating unit, and how you nominate the LOU? Can you explain?
So the current LOU in China is the CFCC, the China Financial Computerization Corporation. So it is also a well-established entity that has huge manpower and also expertise and professional capacity in providing services to the financial sector, particularly in the digital age. For the LOU, currently in the mainland of China, there's only one LOU because we believe that a centralized way to provide LEI services to the financial sector, it has manifold merits. It will ensure that the services provided to the market is the best. And to choose the LOU, the first, the market player will have a willingness to become an LOU, and they might file a application to us. And then we will have a sort of a comprehensive assessment of the status quo, what we need, and the cost to build another LOU. And we will probably consult also with other authorities and to decide if we want to build another LOU or not.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Depending on the jurisdiction, how to set up LOU is quite different. China sort of designated the local LOU, local operating unit. Other jurisdiction, maybe it's really up to the market. So the next question, how China is planning to implement LEI use case. So, to expand kind of authentication, use of LEI for various contract validation or validation of identity. So maybe this is question to Mr. Zhang. Is there any specific plan or roadmap to implement VLEI in China?
Yes, VLEI we know is a new framework as proposed by the GLEIF, and the VLEI is depends on the technical that is distributional or the decentralized technical framework that is different from the sophisticated that we use now. That is a centralized framework. Depends on the new technical framework that can give some new benefits. The first one is international mutual recognition. That is easier than the certificate, just like I showed you the presentation. As now, we are actively engaged in the VIA program, and we already signed the engagement letter with the GLEIF, and we are planning the platform building, and in the third quarter, we will have some software test with the GLEIF, and in the final quarter this year, we will have some pilot project is to show the capability with our partners. And VLEI definitely is a very attractive and powerful tool, yes, to push the LEIs application around the world. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Zhang, thank you so much. Yes, I completely agree. The VLEI is one sort of avenue to expand the use of LEI in various contractual agreement. Any other questions? Well, let me ask one final question. I would like to ask the question to the kind of interregional collaboration. I understand that among financial regulators, like the banking regulators, securities regulators, SAFE, you already have some sort of the roadmap. But to expand LEI implementation to non-financial entities, are you planning to have some sort of a dialogue, inter-agency meeting, or you still sort of starting from the financial sector, you can push the implementation to non-financial institution? What's your plan at this point, Ms. Fan?
For the non-financial entities, we have already initiated some programs. First, we talked to the free trade zone area and their managing committees to see how we can find a way to help them manage their members or trading entities within the FTA. And second is we also encourage LOU to talk to e-commercial platform, the e-commerce, like Alipay, Tencent, and other e-commerce platforms, because they have a lot of small and medium-sized enterprises doing cross-border trade. So we have found that it might be that this might be a way for LEI to serve those SMEs and help them go global. And finally, we are also seeing ways to talk to other authorities, that is the interagency cooperation, to see how we can go beyond the financial sector and to have LEI serve the greater need of the non-financial sector.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think the China's case is quite interesting in a sense that you actually have your own identifier domestically, but the global sort of in terms of the global implementation, LEI is really the driver. Also, increasing cross-border transaction, LEI is really important identifier to support cross-border transaction. The China's sort of the significant presence in the global trade. So this really shows the importance of LEI and identifying or validating or securing cross-border transaction together with a trustable identifier. This is going to be quite important and mutually beneficial. So the trading partner with China also can benefit from the implementation. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you so much for sharing your experience. So for today's webinar, I would like to conclude. So the next webinar is on the 7th July, and this is more sort of a use case for trade. And we have a presentation by the ICC and the banks for the commercial application of LEI. Trade is one of the areas that we can expect the further implementation of LEI. So please join on Wednesday. So thank you, Ms. Fan, Mr. Zhang. Thank you so much for your kind presentation. And for all participants, thank you so much for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.